Okay, continuing on now with our accessory structures in the skin that do all kinds of important things for you. How about hair and nails? Let's talk a little bit about hair. Now, personally I think hair is overrated, but maybe you don't. Hair functions. What do we have hair for? Have you ever wondered that? What is it there for? Well, one of its main functions, believe it or not, this is kind of interesting, it's to alert the body to the presence of insects on the skin. So you have little fine hairs all across the surface of your skin, even if you can't really see them. On some people, they're so fine they're not as visible as they are on somebody who has a lot of dark, thick, hairy skin all across their body. But what those hairs are doing there is they're believed to alert you to the presence of insects. So if you have some kind of creepy crawly on the surface of your skin and they're on your skin hairs, the skin hairs wiggle back and forth, and you have nerves down in the dermis of the skin that will detect that motion of the hairs, and they'll send signals to your brain to let your brain know, hey, there's something crawling on the surface of the skin, and then that will make you shoo that insect away, get that insect off of your skin. That's important to your health and well-being, because there are some types of insects that can bite you and cause infections, or maybe could sting you, and you might have an allergic reaction of some type to the venom. So that does play a protective role. Another thing, hair is believed to guard the scalp, provide some cushioning for the scalp. So it's protecting the scalp, which covers your skull, where your brain is located, is something that you always want to have lots of protection. Unfortunately, I don't have as much protection as many of you probably do. Hair also prevents heat loss. You can lose a lot of heat from your head. So the hair covering there helps prevent that, helps you maintain body temperature homeostasis, and also protects the head from sunlight. So now I'm feeling really depressed. I'm missing a lot of those functions. Where do you have hair? All across your body surface except your palms. You're not supposed to have hairy palms or hairy soles of your feet. Your lips, nipples, and portions of your external genitals are not supposed to be covered with hair. So even if you can't see it, you might be thinking, well, I don't have body hair in all those locations. You just have very fine hairs that are not quite as obvious. All right, what is hair actually made of? When you have a hair is actually produced by a hair follicle, which is a larger structure that surrounds the hair in the center, or the hair can be called a hair shaft. So the hair shaft, the actual hair itself, which sticks out from the surface, it's more or less, it's kind of like the stratum corneum of your epidermis. A hair follicle, the structure that actually manufactures the hair, is really a modified portion of the epidermis. It's derived from the epidermis. So hairs are built from hard keratin. So they're a type of keratin. They're very similar to the keratin you have in the epidermis, but it's harder and more durable, which you guys know if you've ever felt hair. That has a tougher consistency than the surface of your skin. The coloration comes from melanins, just like the coloration you have in the epidermis, and there are different kinds of melanin skin pigments. Some are yellow, some are rusty brown in color, and some are black. And so the different distribution of those that you have determines your hair color, whether it's going to be blonde, you have more of these yellow melanins. If you have black hair, you have a lot more of the black melanins in your hair, and then a lot of people are somewhere in between those two. When your hair starts to turn gray as you get older, happens earlier in some people than others, your melanin production drops off. And believe it or not, what happens in your hair shaft, when you no longer have as much melanin in there with the keratin, you wind up with air bubbles in there in place of the melanin, and the air bubbles are what give it the grayish to white color. And that just happens earlier in some of us than it does in others. Now, we're not going to go, if you're reading along in your textbook goes into tremendous detail about hair, and we're just not going to go into that much depth on hair. And it's not because I personally have anything against hair and think it's overrated. I just think your book is going way too far with it, and so we're not going to go into all of those details about hair. Feel free to read about it if you would like to know more information about how your hair forms and the hair follicles themselves. The hair follicles themselves, those are the structures that surround the hair shaft and actually make the hair itself. The hair follicle itself has several different layers to it. This is a hair follicle over here. If you cut this hair follicle in a transverse plane like that and then look down on it from the top, that would be a cross section through the hair follicle, and you would see something like this. It is very interesting to look at, but you have some connective tissue here surrounding that part of the hair follicle. You have a whole bunch of layers of cells in here that are part of the hair follicle. That's kind of like the many layers of cells in the epidermis. They are manufacturing the keratin that's going to end up in the hair itself. The hair itself is sitting here in the center. It actually has three different layers to it. And again, your hair is mainly composed of keratin, and then you also have those melanins in there that give it color. All right, the active part of a hair follicle is down in here where you have the hair bulb. So that's where you really have the active cells that are doing the most work at producing the hair shaft itself, the hair. And so this is where the hair shaft starts. That's where it's being made. And then as it gets older, it just gets pushed upward, pushed upward, pushed upward through the surface. Hair falls out, as you know. And as long as you still have active hair follicles, you'll get replacement hairs made down here in the hair bulb. So again, don't worry about additional details about hair follicles and hair beyond that for our purposes in this course. A couple of homeostatic imbalances with hair, though: hair thinning and hair baldness. Alopecia is hair thinning, which can occur in male or females after age 40. And there are various reasons why alopecia can occur. Things like nutritional deficiencies, where you just may not have the nutrients that you need to create hairs. And hairs are not super essential. So let's think if you have like a nutritional deficiency of some type, your body, as part of maintaining homeostasis, is going to devote the nutrients and the energy that you do have towards things that are going to keep you alive more so than manufacturing hair. True baldness, which can also be called frank baldness, that's a genetically determined condition, and it's also influenced by gender. So there are genes, genetic recipes, that determine whether or not you will go bald as you get older. This male pattern baldness is actually caused by hair follicles responding to testosterone. So if you have the baldness gene, every gene you inherit one copy from mom, you inherit another copy from dad. So in a male, if you get one copy of the baldness gene, you're going to go bald. You're going to lose your hair as you get older, because the cells in the hair follicle itself will respond to your testosterone by shutting down hair production. Or you make hairs that are so fine and thin they don't look recognizable anymore as hair. In a female, if you have one copy of the baldness gene, you generally keep your hair. You've got to have a copy both from your mom and both from your dad in order for you to actually experience this true frank baldness as you get older, and to have your hair follicles not responding or not producing hairs properly anymore up on the top of your head. Alright, nails. Just like with hair, your textbook goes into a lot more coverage on nails than what we're going to do. Nails are also the nail, the root of the nail, that you see down here on this diagram. This is a finger that's cut open, has been sliced open, and you're seeing it from a lateral view, cut right down the middle like that, and you're looking at it from the side. And the root of the nail is down in here, where you have the cuticle, down in here. That's where you have the active cells that are producing the nail, and the nail is, kind of like hair and kind of like your stratum corneum. You've got a lot of keratin, hard keratin proteins in there that make up the nail. This area underlying the nail itself is called the nail bed. So the dead keratinized nail is sitting up above the nail bed. Again, the cuticle, that's like, you guys know what a nail cuticle is down here in that area at the junction with the skin. Again, that's where the nail is being manufactured. Alright, so again, that's all we're going to do with hair and nails. In the next lecture, we're going to talk a little bit more about skin functions. And we've talked about some of this already, and we'll just continue on with it in lecture 8 in a little bit more detail about the nice things that the skin is doing for us and its various roles in helping us maintain homeostasis and continue living.